Welcome to Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. I'm Michelle McCormick. How often are you going to the doctor? Did you used to be a one-time-a-year person and now you go more or even less than that? In our first segment today, we're going to talk with a nurse practitioner about annual wellness visits, what they are, who they're for, and why they're important to your overall health. But first, Millennium Physician Group is a leading comprehensive independent physician group in Florida with more than 700 healthcare providers at 150 locations in 19 Florida counties. We serve nearly 500,000 patients. Millennium Physician Group is your connection to a healthier life. You can learn more at millenniumphysician.com. Connection, innovation, inspiration, health. Every week, we're talking about the healthcare issues that are important to you. We invite providers and experts to help inspire you to take control of your healthcare decisions. Join us right now for a healthcare journey as we work together to achieve the best health outcome for you. Well, do you remember this? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, that old saying was first coined in 1913, but it's based on a proverb from 1866 that's mostly stating, and it makes sense, that eating healthy foods will keep you in good health and you won't need to see a doctor more often. Well, however, the ancient proverb didn't take into account that we are living longer, that there are toxins in the air, fatty food diets, lack of movement, and so much more. So there's a new standard as to when to see your healthcare provider, or is there? We're going to talk about that. Our first guest today is Millennium Physician Group's Brandy Epperson. Brandy is a nurse practitioner from our Orange Park office on Kingsley Avenue. And Brandy, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Give us a little bit of background about yourself, and then we're going to dive right into these visits.
Hey, thank you, Michelle. I'm so happy to be back. I'm Brandy Epperson. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I work in internal medicine here in the Orange Park office with Dr. Yase. I am a retired Navy nurse practitioner, so this is my second career, so to speak. Just really excited to be here and loving working with my Millennium physician group colleagues and patients.
Yeah, we're so thrilled to have you, especially with your military background in such a military town. So big question is, annual wellness visits, is this just something for people over 65, or should everybody be seeing their physician annually?
Okay, so that is a great question. An annual wellness visit is something that Medicare coined that term, and it's for Medicare patients or people who qualify for Medicare whenever that is. So if it's a traditional Medicare where you enter at 65, or some people qualify at a younger age, and so it applies to them too. And what it's talking about is it's more of a visit that you go to when you're not sick, and we use it to review medical and family history, to check height, weight, and blood pressure, look at all your medications, look at who your specialists are, and get like a status update on what's going on with your whole health. We schedule and identify preventive screenings that you might need for, say, colon cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer, maybe prostate cancer if that applies to you. And then we really look for areas where we can personalize your health service. So if you have issues, let's say you don't have a living will, we might actually do some care planning with you and talk about the importance of that. So it's really looking at the whole person when they're healthy, and not, these are the lovely things that we get to discuss when we might not have time when you're coming to us for a sore throat or a backache or some acute problem. And so they're lovely. Medicare includes them once a year, and they're free of charge.
Do you normally do them around a birthday, or is it just within that year?
Anytime within the year. But if you got your first one, say when you turn 65, then it just, as close to that as you can. So 12 months later is great. But honestly, whenever it works for you is fine with us. We don't have personal preference. It's what works for the patient.
Yeah. And generally, how much time do you spend in this annual wellness visit?
It depends. I probably take a little bit longer just because I'm a nurse practitioner and I'm meeting many of my patients for the first time. And so there's a lot of medical history that we may be reviewing and getting a status check for. But I would count on at least 30 minutes. And if it's your first time at that provider's office, there's a lot of screening forms and questionnaires. So filling out all of those, give yourself an hour, and that way you won't be surprised if it takes a little longer than a normal.
Right.
visit.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to feel rushed. I mean, this is a really important one, especially if it's the first one when you're turning 65. You know, you're excited to be on Medicare maybe for the first time, and just really trying to figure out, how does this whole Medicare navigation work? So, if especially if someone comes with a caregiver too, you also have to factor in you might be talking to two people.
Oh, absolutely. In internal medicine, our average patients are, in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And so very likely they'll have a spouse or a adult child caregiver, or sometimes the parent is coming with their younger family member, but they're their adult caregiver. So if there's two people there, then plan a little extra time and plan a little patience for that visit. But it's really valuable. I can't tell you how many things we identify that may have fallen through the cracks in other visits just because there wasn't enough time to talk about them. And this is really when a patient gets to set their goals and then make a good plan and kind of, how are we going to get this done? And then we can schedule visits to really nail down those individual goals over the year.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think it's valuable, especially if you're starting to go down the specialist path. Like, let's say you don't have any pre-existing conditions when you turn 65. Maybe you just take some medication, aspirin or even more. But I think having that dedicated visit is extremely important. And then if you do refer out to specialists, then they come back and they can really go over those down to the nitty gritty with you as their provider.
Absolutely. We're very privileged to have so many specialty providers that we can access, but with that privilege comes a risk that we may be multiple people prescribing drugs for the same condition. And so having that annual wellness visit is a fantastic time to review these medications and make sure we're on the right doses, that we're not overprescribing. And also maybe we don't need something anymore and it no longer serves its purpose. Maybe we can take that off your list. And so that's a very safe thing to get accomplished and one of the easiest to overlook in a regular visit if it's rushed.
Mm-hmm. So what about your patients under 65, the over 50 community, let's say? How often should they be seeing a provider, a physician, a nurse practitioner?
I personally recommend every 1 to 2 years if you are in good health and you don't have any major issues. Maybe longer if you are a younger person, you're physically fit, you're not overweight, you don't have high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or you don't have a family history that's very concerning. So with those, maybe you'd be fine just going in when you don't feel well or once every few years. But the older you get, the more necessary it becomes to at least have your blood pressure checked annually. And if you have family history that make you a higher risk for any certain condition, or if you're having a little too much weight that you're carrying around with you, let's make sure that you're okay and that there's no consequences or health risks that you're overlooking. So every year or two is a general guideline. More often, if you've got specific issues that need to be followed more closely, like say you have a thyroid problem or diabetes, we may want to see you every 6 months just to make sure that we've kept on top of those and that they're well managed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And then, for women moving into menopause or postmenopausal, there's still a lot of ongoing issues that they may face. You mentioned weight gain or weight gain that's hard to get rid of, and talking with a primary care physician or provider, nurse practitioner is so valuable, I think, to just help with your health overall.
Oh, absolutely. It's good to get a second set of ears listening, asking questions. Sometimes we just attribute things like, oh, I'm just getting old. My warranty is expired. These things are going to break. I'm supposed to hurt here. And there have been times when, no, there really is something wrong. And bringing it up to this impartial person who asks the right questions have found cancers or metabolic conditions or endocrine conditions. For instance, and I know this has not a whole lot to do with primary care, but I've had a dentist who sent a patient to me for a mass in their neck, and it turned out to be a thyroid cancer. And so keeping up with those, that annual dental visit and your annual wellness visits with your primary care provider can find things that before they get out of hand and before there are many consequences and more severe.
Yeah, I think you just totally hit the nail on the head with that one. Brandy Epperson is a Millennium Physician Group nurse practitioner from our Orange Park office on Kingsley Avenue. And Brandy, thank you so much for your insights and your advice. Really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Always so happy to talk to you. And feel free to schedule your appointment and we'll get your annual physical taken care of.
Sounds like I need to get that done as well. Well, coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk about being active after 50 and moving into our senior golden years. So stick around. Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. I'm Michelle McCormick. Each week, we're talking about the healthcare issues that are important to you by inviting providers and experts to inspire you to take control of your healthcare decisions. So is 60 the new 40? I kind of think so. With baby boomers being the largest population in America, more and more adults born between 1947 and 1964 are working later into life. They're being more active and living much longer than their parents before them. Right now, we're going to talk about boomers and seniors and being active after 50. Joining me is Eddie Malone, founder of an amazing community resource for seniors in Northeast Florida. Eddie, thank you so much for being on the show today. I know you have a great story and your passion for helping out boomers and seniors. Give us a little bit of background about you.
All right, great. Thanks for having me today, Michelle. Really enjoy being on your show. About 10 or 15 years ago, up in upstate New York, where our family is from, I began working with seniors. And during that process of working with a medical equipment company, I became a certified aging in place specialist. So that allowed me to meet lots of different people in the senior industry, so to speak. And one thing that I found was seniors, as folks age, they want to stay active, and most of them want to stay in their homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing that as more of a trend lately as well. That hasn't changed much in the 10 to 15 years since he started.
So what we did was up in, again, upstate New York, where we're from, we got involved with events that brought, seniors together. And, seniors, a lot of them have older children who, guess what, are baby boomers. So we kind of got to work with baby boomers and seniors to see what they want. They all want to stay active. They all think they're active, even though they're not, some of them. Mm-hmm. But we had some events going on up there that when we relocated down here in Northeast Florida, back about 8 years ago, we just kind of brought those thoughts and ideas and services down to this area.
Now, you're based out of St. Augustine, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you moved down here, did you find that people were active and moving, or was this something you had to seek out?
Yeah, no, I found it. And, let's face it, Florida in general has a pretty big population of seniors and baby boomers. It's just a great state for folks, especially, well, really from all over the country, but basically from, up in the northern part of the country to escape that freezing cold weather and come down here. So we knew demographically there were lots of folks who were seniors. And then, the local newspaper actually reached out to us and kind of heard about us, I guess, and said, hey, do you guys want to partner with us and produce a senior expo?
Okay. All right. So is that how the active after 50 started?
That's how it started down here, sure. And but when they said, "Do you want to provide or produce a senior expo?" I said, "No."
That's a lot.
At me like I had three eyes. I said, "Well, we'll produce an expo that has seniors, but also baby boomers, because a lot of times, whether seniors like it or not, their adult children are involved in their decision-making process with and for their parents."
Yeah. And so, what did you do? You started the website. Let's talk a little bit about your website and how that kind of got the ball rolling on everything else.
Sure. So I stopped by and met some folks in St. Johns County, the Council on Aging, Home Instead, some other organizations that were, in fact, working with seniors. And we did produce a website up in upstate New York called Active Boomers and Seniors. And again, because of all that demographic, all the folks down here, we said, let's start this website down here in Northeast Florida. And we did that. And then, so it was called Active Boomers and Seniors, which has kind of grown into Active After 50. And basically what that is, Michelle, is it's an online resource directory. It's free of charge. And what it is, it allows somebody to go on the website and kind of like one-stop shopping. If you need products and services if you're over 50, if you have aging parents, you sit down at your computer and literally hundreds of really, really good local resources are on that website.
Yeah, we are talking with Eddie Malone, who is the founder of a great community resource that we're talking about right now, activeafter50online.com, and some Expo information that we'll get to a little bit later in the show. But I think that the website is extremely resourceful. So how did you encourage people to kind of get behind this just very specific resource?
So, excuse me. So the website itself, we brought together focus groups of professionals who serve seniors and also consumers over 50. And so we had focus groups, and then based on that information, we said, okay, there's a need for information, let's share it. And so we kind of, that's how it started. And it's kind of grown in that we market the website through offices, through libraries. Sarah Malone, who you meet shortly, has added social media as a way to let people know about our website, but also through the Expos. We always are present at the Expos, and people coming through the demographic we serve, we tell them that, hey, there's this great resource out there that allows you to, check out what's happening in St. Johns County and St. Augustine.
Yeah, and you've grown throughout the region too. I mean, you're not just in St. Johns County anymore.
That's right. We have grown. Again, much of that is due to Sarah growing our Expos, which is called Active After 50 Expo. And then finally, Michelle, we have, I started, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, a group of professionals called SPIN. And that brings together professionals who serve baby boomers and their aging parents. And so it's kind of like a three-legged stool, if you will, that provides us with information and allows us to give information back to St. Augustine and beyond, Northeast Florida consumers.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about SPIN, and we're going to talk a lot about the Expos coming up too. But Eddie, as a baby boomer yourself, right? Yep.
Yes.
What advice do you give others about staying active? I mean, it's really important. Our nurse practitioner in the first segment, it's like, just stay active. You need that movement almost every day. How do you, as a boomer, relay that to the people that you work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's so important because there's all kinds of scientific data and health data that show if you do stay active, not only do you live longer, but you live longer healthier. So, I mean, as we age, what's the most important thing? Health. Mm-hmm. And so I know you're well aware of that with Millennium Physicians Group. It's really important, and our website helps folks access how they can stay active. The Expos allow people to come and talk to folks in person who can help them stay active. But it's so important to find something that you enjoy doing that's so socially and physically allows you to stay active. And the easiest thing you can do is to walk.
Yeah.
Just take a walk. And
I think what you said is it's so important. It's the socialization alongside the movement. I mean, a lot of people, it's like, I don't know what to do. I used to run. I used to do yoga. I'm not really into that anymore. But it's so important, the social aspect of it as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Again, so on the website, and the website now, I think, is either 7 or 8 years old, and we're in the process of upgrading the website. And there's going to be a huge section that comes up right away on just that will answer your question: how can people stay active? And we're really excited about that. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
I would say in about 30 to 45 days, the new look website will be up and running.
Oh, that's exciting. All right. Well, Eddie, stick around. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to continue our conversation with Eddie, and we're going to meet Sarah. She's going to talk to us about their passion and taking it to the next level. And we're going to talk more about the Expos and a little bit more about the networking group. So the conversation will continue. Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. I'm Michelle McCormick. Every week, we're talking about the healthcare issues that are important to you by inviting providers and experts to inspire you to take control of your healthcare decisions. Is 60 the new 40? With baby boomers being the largest population in America, more and more adults born between 1947 and 1964 are working later into life. They're more active and living much longer than their parents before them. We're talking all about boomers and seniors and staying active after 50. Joining me still Coming back for this segment, Eddie Malone, and now his daughter, Sarah, founders of an amazing community resource for seniors in Northeast Florida. And Sarah, welcome to the show. I know you don't fit the baby boomer years. Neither do I, for the record. But I know you're heavily involved. But, you know, when you were in college, I think you were very involved with planning events. So give us a little bit of background about you and how you transitioned to the senior expo side of life.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle. It's great to be here. It's kind of a crazy story. I was a former athlete in college, and when I graduated, I got involved with coaching, but also as an athletic director. And the school that I worked for required a lot of fundraising, a lot of just outside help to fund the programs. So got my background kind of doing that, just helping the school's athletic department with different events, different fundraisers. Really enjoyed it. Eventually moved on. I lived out in Houston, Texas for a few years, worked for Rice University, and planned events for their STEM program. So, science, technology, engineering, math, did all of that. But around the same time, my parents retired to North Florida, St. Augustine. And, I'd hear updates from my mom, from my dad about these events that he started planning. So kind of, keeping an eye on him and what he was doing. As I was planning these big events, research, technology, big conferences out in Texas. Coincidentally, my grandmother actually had Alzheimer's. They were living in Florida. It's one of the reasons my parents retired down here. And I started to really kind of connect. My mom was my grandmother's main caregiver. She lived over an hour away. So just the difficulties in logistics, the difficulties with planning, talking to doctors, making sure everything was being taken care of at the house with my grandfather. So that kind of, it became more near and dear to my heart. So as my dad was growing these events, personally, I was looking at a move back to Florida, and it kind of just, fell into my lap where I had this opportunity to grow this specific segment of events and really help people. Mm-hmm. My biggest goal in doing these events is to connect people, your average everyday people who live in the areas that these events are held, with businesses who really can help them.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is great, and at your young age, really working, you have such a passion for the senior industry. So then, how did the Active After 50 Expos really start to evolve? Like Eddie was saying in the first segment that they reached out to him and like, hey, do an expo. I mean, it like sounds so easy on paper, but the planning behind it is tremendous.
Yeah. And I actually love the planning. I enjoy that part very much. So my dad, he called me one day and he was like, they asked me to do this expo. I did it. It went well. They asked me to do one more up in Jacksonville. I did it. It went well. But I'm a baby boomer. I'm retired. I don't want this new career. I can't, I don't have the energy to really put into what this needs. And I was more than happy to step in, and just kind of see where it took me. So the first year, I just repeated what he had done in St. Augustine and in Jacksonville. But then I quickly learned, and speaking with some of the awesome sponsors that we have and exhibitors that are a part of it, learned the need was just so much greater than just St. Augustine and just Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. So we just slowly started to expand. This year, we're in 7 cities, as far north as Savannah, Georgia, as far south as Daytona Beach, Florida. And just, some exhibitors are the same, but a lot of them are just different, different people who have services and have products to help the community.
Yeah. In addition to us, Millennium Physician Group, we are presenting sponsor of the Active After 50 Expo for Jacksonville, Fernandina Beach, and Orange Park. What other vendors are going to be at these events? And let's talk specifically about the one that's happening in March 19th at the University of North Florida at the University Center. It's on a Saturday. It's from 10 to 2, most perfect hours to have an expo. Who else can we expect to see there that's helping to serve the senior community?
Yeah, so that's a great question. One generation that the two of you haven't mentioned yet are the Gen Xers, and they're around 50 to 57 years old right now, and their parents are aging, and a lot of those people come out because they're looking for information for their parents. But oh, by the way, it's not too far until they'll need some of that information and services for themselves. And we try very hard. This isn't a senior expo. You're not going to come in and see rows of funeral homes and
Right.
nursing homes and things like that. It is very much active after 50. So, like Millennium Physicians Group, your goal is to keep people active, to keep people healthy. There's a lot of medical providers, that have similar goals. Hospital groups, things like that. We have Medicare agents who come out. Financial health, elder law attorneys, things like that. But then we also, when you get into the fun side of it, there's travel agents, there's golf courses, there's day spas, there's the things that, someone 50 to 65 and older might enjoy doing.
Yeah. And, I love the idea of the active after 50 groups, because there's somebody that for everyone to talk to. And you're right. We were remiss in mentioning that, I have an aging mother who, still lives in my house. I don't think she's going to move out anytime soon. And, I would love to move into the independent living eventually, or the active after 55 communities, because, it's, I want to take control of that part of my life. So I know at the Expos that is a segment that is well represented as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. I talk to my friends now, and they laugh at me, but I tell them I would move into an independent living community right now.
Right.
All the fun stuff that they have happy hours.
Don't even get me started. No pool maintenance, no lawn maintenance. I don't want to call the plumber.
Right. All your friends are right there. I mean, it's perfect.
It works for me. So, yeah. Sarah, let's talk real quick about COVID. During the pandemic, it's a struggle to get people out, but you guys have really started to rebound. Let's talk a little bit about the effect of the pandemic on the whole Expo experience.
Yeah, coincidentally enough, the Jacksonville 2020 Expo, it's always scheduled for the third weekend in March. So this year, March 19th, Michelle already mentioned it, but mark your calendars. But we had to do a quick adjustment. That was pretty much the week that the entire world shut down in 2020. So it definitely took, some last minute changes, a lot of coordination, but we were very, very proud to say that we only lost 2 vendors. We rescheduled the event to later in the year, and only 2, decided that their companies could just no longer afford to be a part of the event. It wasn't because they didn't see the benefit of it at all, which was really great for us. I think that's a true testament to what the local community gets out of coming and being a part of this event. So end of 2020, 2021 was a little slower, but we kept it going just because we know how important these services are to people. The people who came out really wanted to talk to these exhibitors, and they still had the capability to do that. We just had our St. Augustine event, very happy to report, in February, and it was fantastic. It was great. Just, getting people out again, seeing people interact and really take advantage of all the services that were there. It's just so nice to see. And, fingers crossed that will continue throughout the year.
Yeah, I think so too. And we're definitely looking forward to our participation in the Active After 50 Expos coming up this month and throughout the year. When we return after this quick break, we're going to talk with Eddie and Sarah some more. And Eddie's going to give us a little talk about pickleball. It's a great way to stay active. And I think Eddie's quite the pro. Are you, Eddie?
Semi.
All right, we'll talk about it when we come back. Stick around. Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inspiration Health Radio, sponsored by Millennium Physician Group. I'm Michelle McCormick. Every week, we're talking about the healthcare issues that are important to you by inviting providers and experts to inspire you to take control of your healthcare decisions. Well, we have been talking about annual wellness visits, why they're so important once you turn 65, and even why it's important to see your physician before you turn 65. now we're talking about baby boomers. Is 60 the new 40? And I'm going to kind of go, yeah, the 50's the new 30, then 60's the new 40. Baby boomers were born from 1947 to 1964. They're working later into life, more active, and living longer than their parents. Our conversation today has been with two amazing people who service the senior industry in Northeast Florida, all about boomers and seniors and being active after 50. Eddie Malone and Sarah Malone, founders of an amazing community resource for seniors in our area. And Eddie, let's bring you back into the conversation. And at the end of the last segment, we talked briefly about your pickleball experience. And this is a part of Sarah's Expos too. I remember one year, maybe it was last year, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, the weather was not good. And so you couldn't set up the pickleball outside, but set it up inside the University of North Florida University Center in a room with like tape and a net and everything. So I find it fascinating that you're able to kind of pick up pickleball anywhere.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll let my dad jump in a second. But yeah, we try to include pickleball at as many locations as we can. We try to set up a full-size court and bring out some awesome coaches to give demonstrations, tips, tricks, things like that.
Yeah. So Eddie, I think I heard you say the other day that pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America.
It is the fastest growing sport in America. It's awesome. And I started playing myself about 5 or 6 years ago. And when Sarah got involved and took over the Expos, she said, "Hey, this crazy game you're playing, I think that would be fun to have at all of the Expos," and which she's really done in some form or fashion. And so it's a way, people are curious when you say pickleball,
what
they
is
look at
it?
you as if you have three eyes.
Yeah.
And but then they come to learn, as you saw last year at UNF, and it will be back again March 19th at the Active After 50 Expo in Jacksonville. It's just a fun sport, and it's a way to socialize, and it's a way to stay in shape.
Yeah. So what is it? And is it just for people, the baby boomers and older?
Yeah. So, well, it can be for Generation Xers, which are younger than the baby boomers. Of course, the baby boomers. And one gentleman that I play with, Michelle, he's 81 years old. And he was just in a tournament last weekend in St. Augustine and came in third place with his partner.
Yeah.
81.
Wow. And were you his partner?
I wasn't his partner, but I was watching him play, and I have played with him and against him. His name is John, and he's awesome. And that's just one example. There's so many people playing, but I just got to throw in, because Sarah is much younger than me, and a lot of younger people, in fact, are also enjoying pickleball. But it's funny because I was kind of going through my notes earlier today, and again, besides, how do you play? What is it? Mm-hmm. So you have picture an oversized ping pong paddle. Okay. And the ball itself is kind of like a wiffle ball. So it's the size of a wiffle ball, has holes in it. And the court that you play on, it's 2/3 the size of a tennis court. But the great thing about the game is you mostly play doubles, so you can have fun with your partner. And it's easy on the joints. A lot of people that play tennis and racquetball, they have tennis elbow and things like that. Mm-hmm. Not so much with pickleball. So you can really enjoy it. And it's a great sport where women are not intimidated by big, strong guys, men. They can kind of get on the court in a very short period of time, be competitive with and against the guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like something that I would enjoy playing, because you don't have to hit the ball really hard to get it over the net. And, the serving doesn't look too difficult like it does in tennis. And, for my husband and I, when we go on vacation, we're always like, oh, let's go play tennis because, why not? And we're really bad. We're really bad at tennis. But I think pickleball would definitely be something to try out, and it is becoming very popular. I see parks across our entire region here redoing tennis courts and turning them into more of a pickleball environment. Mm-hmm. But I think it also fits in the staying active after 50. It's the socialization, there's movement, it gets people out and about. So I find that the fact that you guys are bringing it to the Expos and really teaching people about the sport is such a great idea.
Yes. Sarah actually set up a court right inside at the Daytona Beach Expo just a couple of weeks ago, right, Sarah?
Yep. Yep. It was a lot of fun. It was the St. Augustine Expo, and we had a local coach there. He was giving lessons, demonstrating different paddles and what they were good for. And a lot of people, come to these clinics and they just want to learn. And it is a great way to socialize. It's very humbling when I'm in my 30s and I play against these guys who are in their 70s, and man, they make me run all around.
Well, I wonder if the seniors who are playing pickleball are feeling like they're being invaded by the younger people, like don't take our game. This is our game. All right, so Eddie and Sarah Malone, founders of this amazing community resource for seniors in Northeast Florida, Active After 50, the online community, the Expos, and Eddie, you touched on it very briefly earlier in the show about your networking group called SPIN. So I find these meetings extremely valuable for what I do with Millennium. But tell us a little bit about SPIN. What does SPIN stand for, and how can someone get involved?
Okay, so about 6 years ago, I kind of recognized that this area, it's starting in St. Augustine, the area really didn't have meetings of providers, both for-profit and nonprofit, who provided services for the senior population. And so I thought it might be a good idea to invite them together, to come together once a month to discuss kind of like best practices and how they're helping people, things that they do, and share that with information with each other, and then evolve into referring business. If you get to meet somebody, you trust them, you tend to do business with them. And so the first meeting 6 years ago was a very small group, let's say about 20 people. But in the next 6 years, we've had literally, I think, 300 or 400 area businesses in St. Johns County attend a SPIN meeting or two. Mm-hmm. So it's just a great networking group. It stands for Senior Provider Information Network. And as I said, it's for both for-profit and nonprofit. And we have so many success stories of things that have happened from the folks that come in and meet monthly in St. Augustine, Jacksonville, and Palm Coast.
Yeah, I remember one of the first meetings I ever went to in Jacksonville, as representing Millennium. It was awesome to learn about the folks from the assisted living facilities, the people from the home health care side, whether clinical or non-clinical, and also meeting the people who could really become part of your personal environment as well. Like, I met a great VA guy who I turned on to my mom to help with my grandmother trying to reclaim some of my grandfather's VA money. So, I mean, talk about networking. That was something that benefited my family as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we were winding down, hopefully from COVID, we had that challenge because the meetings had been in person. And then we asked Sarah to step in when COVID hit and to keep our meetings going, which she did by coordinating all the Zoom meetings. Yeah. And did an awesome job on that and helped us to keep it going. And sure enough, we did. And now we're just kind of reconvening back in person.
Yeah, they are a great resource. So as we wind down here today, Sarah, why don't you give us how can people get in contact with you about the Expos, if there's still space available coming up for this one, and what are the next few Expos you have coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. We do still have some space available at the moment. Thankfully, UNF opened up the lobby area, the hallway to us again this year. We would not have any space. But yeah, if you want to be involved, you can call me. The cell is 904-829-4502. 904-829-4502. You can email Sarah, S-A-R-A, at activeafter50group.com. Or you can check us out online, the activeafter50online.com. There's an Expo page there. You can check out all the local resources as well. We have a Facebook page, Active After 50 Online. As well.
Yeah, and at each one of your Expos, you do a great service as well. You collect food for Feeding Northeast Florida, which is a great, awesome thing. And you also do a lot of give backs too. So it's nice to be involved with that.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. We have a lot going on. Belly dance demonstrations, live music.
They were dancers. Yeah, some dancers were kind of floating around at one point. Yeah, they're kind of some ballroom dancers. They were kind of fun to watch too as a vendor. It's kind of like, wow, that's cool. So after the one here in Jacksonville in March, what do you have coming up?
So Fernandina Beach is May 14th. And then Orange Park is August 13th. Those are our last couple North Florida events. Then we're down in Palm Coast before we heading up to Savannah, Georgia.
All right. Well, hopefully one day we'll be able to join you in the areas that we're not in yet. And Eddie, how can we learn more about spin meetings and attending?
Okay, great. Yeah, you can go on to Active After 50, and that's 50, activeafter50online.com. And there are spin pages, so they can professionals can learn about spin. As Sarah mentioned, there's an expo page, a lot of expo information for consumers and professionals. And then again, hundreds of local resources that we have a search tool on there that you can search, primary care physicians, for instance. And of course, that will take them right to your group, Millennium, and several other great resources throughout Northeast Florida. activeafter50online.com.
All right. Well, Eddie and Sarah, thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be a part of the expo coming up later this month, Saturday, March 19th from 10 to 2 p.m. at UNF at the University Center. Just follow the signs. So thank you both for being here today.
Thanks, Michelle.
The conversation will continue next time on Inspiration Health Radio. Your healthcare journey, very important to us, and our goal at Millennium Physician Group is to work together to achieve the best health outcome for you. Always starts with seeing your primary care provider. See our website for a full list of offices and providers at millenniumphysician.com. In good health, I'm Michelle McCormick. Have a great day.